in St. Augustine's in Abbeyside at the graveside of Páraig Ó Dálaigh, and we're here with John Daly, his cousin, who's going to tell us a little bit about him. So John, where was Páraig from?
Páraig was born in the parish of Abbeyside. Went to school at the old schoolhouse in Ballin Road and to the Christian Brothers in Dungarvan. Páraig was very, very academic. He was a brilliant student. He was proficient and fluent in 3 or 4 in English, French, Irish, Spanish, Scots, Gaelic, and other smatterings of other languages as well. He worked at the law firm of Arthur Rhines in Bridge Street in Dungarvan, but he had also had a great interest in Irish culture and Irish tradition, and particularly the Irish language. He organised several comings of the Gaelic League, and he came to the attention of the hierarchy in the Gaelic League, and in 1901 he became the General Secretary of the Gaelic League in Dublin. He stayed with the Gaelic League for about 15 years. He travelled all over. He travelled Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales, organised comings of the Gaelic League. But around 1915, the Gaelic League became a little bit too political for his liking. He was inclined to get a bit political. There was a lot of unrest in the country at the time. It was just before the uprising of 1916.
Yeah.
So Páraig left the Gaelic League, and you might say, I suppose, that really what he did was he left the lecture platform. He never left his love for the Irish language. He left the lecture platform to go writing more about it. He became the director of the Educational Book Company of Ireland, which the Talbot Press, which that company issued all the school books at the time, and Páraig edited and selected the school books for the primary schools for years and years. As a matter of fact, I came across one of the little books. It's called The Ballad History of Ireland for Schools, and it's edited and selected by Páraig Ó Dálaigh. So this was the type of thing he did, and he worked at the Educational Book Company of Ireland for about almost 20 years. Páraig used to come when he came home on holidays. His family was still living here in Abbeyside, and they were all very academic. They were voracious readers.
Where were they born?
They were born in Ballin Road, someplace out there. They came originally from Knockatee-Moor, which is just about a mile on the other side of the town, up on the estuary, the Colligan River estuary. Pádraig's father was a railway worker. He in the census of 1901, he was down as a railway servant. And Pádraig was down as a law clerk, managerial. So, but anyway, his sister, he's buried at, this is the Welsh's grave. His sister Caught Daly. She was married to Morris Welsh, and Caught was the principal in Glenbeg School, and Morris Welsh taught in Glenbeg School as well. So Pádraig died in Dublin in 1932, and he was brought home to be buried here, and he was buried with his sister Caught, or in the grave. She died sometime after he did. But
did he marry or have children?
No, he was never married. No, he never married. He was always a bachelor. Probably the amount of travelling and everything else he was doing, he probably didn't have time to get married. But Pádraig is very much forgotten now. I came across the history of the O'Daly's there some years ago, and I sent away for it. And there's very little about any of the Dalys in County Waterford, but Pádraig merits probably a whole page of the best part of a page on the history of the Ó Dalaigh family. A lot of Pádraig's poetry, he was a great poet as well as being a writer and a lecturer.
And was any of it published?
Oh yes,
poems?
several of them were in the school curriculum.
Okay.
Back in the 1940s and 50s and 30s. Probably his most famous poem was Du Gaeldeisha. He wrote when he was in Scotland, reminiscing about home and about Ireland.
He lived in Scotland?
He used to travel to Scotland, organising comings of the Gaelic League.
Okay,
So he did a large amount of writing, and he was very famous in his own time. The Irish, and he was kind of known as around here.
Yeah.
I remember my grandfather, John Daly, Balnacorty, used to tell me when I was young that when Pádraig would come on holidays down from Dublin, he'd stay in the men's club in Abbyside, and that was Max Hotel they called it. It was over near Alice O'Connor's pub. And he'd say, I was going to see my cousin, the Irishan.
Yeah.
So that was the name. He was very, very much
Very well
for
known.
Irish culture and Irish tradition and anything Irish, genuinely Irish. He had an abiding interest in all that.
And where did that come from? Where his father?
As I say, his father worked on the railway, but the Dalys back along. I was as I say, of the history of the Ó Dailaighs, and I've read several things about it. There was the Ó Dailaighs in Wintervara, which is in West Cork, another branch of the family. But they were bards to the High Kings of Ireland long ago, and they came from the originator of the Daly family was Niall of the Nine Hostages. He was the High King of Ireland back in whenever, 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. And the Dalys were one of the first families to be allowed to bear arms other than royalty. Bearing arms, I thought when I read it first that it was to be allowed to have